hello viewers, you won't see me posting and shooting this week, so I'm in France at Normandy. So I've just got to Pegasus Bridge, which is just behind me. So if I pan round, just behind that placard there. Now that's the new bridge, the old bridge, the road in the museum, just over there. I'll probably see that later. And the reason to replace the old bridge, they widened the canal, so they needed to replace the bridge. It's been built in the same format. So this was the first attack on D-Day, and it was attacked by the Oxford Bucks Light Infantry, John Howard's men, Major John Howard. And if you look over there, that's where they landed. Glider number 1, which can be seen right in front, that's 50 yards from the bridge. It crashed through the barbed wire entanglement and it was on the Germans before they even knew it. The glider that came in behind this one was glider number 3, but he overshot glider number 2. That was piloted by Peter Boyle. He was from Nottingham. His glider basically opened up on impact. One of the blokes fell out, knocked himself out, and he drowned in the water. And then about where that bloke's just passed, behind that bush in the foreground, that's where glider number 2 landed. So there's all within 100 yards of each other, and the first one within 50 yards of the bridge. And this is the bridge, the new bridge. But yeah, over the now you've got Café Gondry. Looking up the river during the attack, that was a maternity hospital. The Germans were on the roof sniping the bridge. The British couldn't shoot back because it was a maternity hospital, so while they stood here they was being shot at all day. And then on the other side of the bridge you'll see a church tower. There's snipers up there as well shooting at the bridge, both within 800 metres of the bridge. So they held the bridge until relief, and that was from Lord Lovett, who was in charge of the commando force. So they had to wait until they came off the beaches, and when he arrived he was only 2 minutes late, and he apologised. Why would you apologise for being 2 minutes late after fighting 8 miles inland? But he did. But there we go. That was the first attack on D-Day, just after midnight. There was one fatality on the bridge during the attack, and that was a lieutenant. He was shot by a machine gun running across the bridge. Lieutenant Brotheridge his name was. During the night some German panzer tanks came down this road here. They was knocked out by a Piat anti-tank weapon. Germans came up in about 3 tanks, thinking there was coming up against an heavily fortified position. The other 2 tanks turned around and fled. But here we are now at Café Gondry, the first place liberated on D-Day. Oh, it's a bit of a pilgrimage actually. This says Pegasus Bridge there, look. We've got some veterans. There we go. Pegasus Bridge. This is inside the cafe. It's like a pilgrimage, what I say. Isn't it? Okay then, going back over the bridge. Just had a expensive coffee at the Cafe Gondre. So the 3 gliders over there from the Oxen Books, they actually detached from the tug at 17 miles away, just over the sea. They flew the 17 miles in the dark using just stopwatch and compass, and they managed to land where they landed. Amazing feat. So another look upriver, up canal I should say. This is a Caen Canal. 400 metres in that direction you got the Orne River. There's 3 gliders that went to capture that as well. It's important that they kept the 2 bridges open so that when the Allies broke out they could cross over into that side. There was a parachute drop zone on that side, but there was 3 drop zones on this side of the river and canal. So there was basically a landing brigade that landed here. So the troops came in by glider or parachute. I believe there was 6 battalions, parachute battalions, and there was about 3 glider units as well within their brigade. So 3 brigades to the division. 2 of the brigades were parachutists, and 1 brigade was gliders. Good thing with the gliders, all the men, which is 28 men, all landed as a single unit, whereas parachutists can be stretched out over half a mile from jumping out of the aircraft. You can just see the memorial over there. That is the furthest glider away. That was glider number 2 coming in. The one in the middle was glider number 3 that overshot glider number 2, and there you've got glider number 1. So you can see there 3 also gliders to get that close on target at 17 miles from being unhitched from the actual planes towing them. It was amazing. It was the best piece of flying throughout the war, because to get an aircraft with no engines in the dark on target like that, it's hard to beat really. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go in the museum and show you some of the other things. Okay. That's the start of the museum. Granddaughter looked in the case and she said that's what Grandad does at his house. So yeah, she knows to shoot, but I don't shoot them. Right. There's a pilot's uniform. And that's the Ruperts used to throw out the aircraft to cause confusion. But I think the Germans are confused enough. Now a lot of these things have been contributed by veterans over the years. This is showing you the modern day on the right and the wartime paratrooper on the left. Major John Howard's berry and helmet. See a bullet hole in his helmet. Not. And this is basically what British troops would have had coming in. Got the mortar, flare pistol to mark where the positions are, Webley revolver, Lee Enfield rifles, Sten guns, famous Piat anti-tank weapon which is spring loaded. Basically it worked like a gat gun. I think you put your feet on that and pull back, and that cocked a spring, and that's a shaped charge on the front there, fired about 100 yards. That'd hit the tank and hopefully put an hole through it. But you've got to get really close to use it, that's the downside. There's a different grenades. And there's a Jeep like they would have had on the gliders, and with the mortars and the small motorbikes. Vickers machine gun is probably the biggest machine gun that they had. They got a Bren gun. At the top, that's a horse, a glider. That's what they landed in the bridge on. There were some bigger gliders than that carried artillery and things, and there's a model of one here. They used to carry jeeps and guns on the horses, but if they crashed, they could come straight through the front. But on these, the pilots sit above it, so it's safer. And what you see there is what you see there. That's what fit on the big glider. Looking out the window, that's the original bridge. General Gale, also known as Windy. That's his original uniform. The model of the bridge. See Lieutenant Brotheridge lying dead there, look. Shot by that machine gun, I would have thought. Now, I've been in this before. This is a model of the area with the drop zones. The bridge is over there. You can see one drop zone one side, another drop zone this side, and another drop zone there. That's where this one is, where 8 para dropped. There's one at the top. That's where the 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion landed, a 9 para that was to capture Merville Battery. They had some gun emplacements that was overlooking the main sword beach up there that had to be knocked out. So I've just come up this road. They've got Caborg just here. We're staying at, where is it? We're at Hopwell. What's that place you're staying at? Oldgate. Yeah, we're staying at Oldgate, which is a bit further this way. You got Caborg. We went up the coast. Yeah, got Merville just there. That's where the gun emplacements were. Now there's all spread out. The 9th Battalion was made up of about 650 men. They only managed to gather about 150 to put the attack in. By the time they'd finished, there was only 75 left. It's amazing they actually captured it with the men they'd got. But the 1st Parachute Battalion, they was there to help out, but they was also here to knock out the bridges on the River Deves there. See that glider there? That came in about there. It mistook this estuary here at Caborg for the Oostream estuary. So they came in over here, landed in the wrong place. But they thought, well, what the hell? So they started blowing bridges up anyway. And they had to go the 10 mile back to where they were supposed to be. And lost just 1 man out of the whole 28 of the crew. So not too bad. You can see him. That's the original path for the oxen bucks. It was jettisoned off the Tucks at 17 mile out at where you can see him now. Went all the way up there, came back round, and all 3 landed within 100 yards of each other and 50 yards of the bridge. And they was capturing the bridge on the canal, and 3 other planes, gliders, supposed to capture the bridge on the River Orne, but only 2 got there, I think, and that's where the 3rd one ended up. Yeah, pretty amazing. Yeah, you can see the flight path. That's the flight path of the gliders. Getting to the bridge. So what you can see is containers for the medics. So you've got a stretcher in there, probably a generator, medical boxes, another container there on the end of a parachute. Got a wheelbarrow stretcher. And all the medical kit in the windows. So that's what my job was when I was in Paris. With the parachute field ambulance and the parachute battalions. Now this chap on here, I actually knew him until he died during lockdown. His name's Peter, and he's from the Derby branch. He's actually with 10 Para, so I'm not quite sure what he's doing in the 6th Airborne div thing. I think it's probably a training photos, but yeah. I think he lived to be about 93 when he died. So if you ever get a chance, you can come and see the museum.
L'image est toujours impressionnante et elle nous ramène sans cesse à notre liberté. Juin 2000, la cinéma.
Right, moving out then. Now that's one hell of a gun there. And a tank. I think this is sort of tanks designed for breaching defences when they come on the shore. It's quite a big calibre gun here, 5.5 inch. This weapon was the standard medium gun in the British Army from 44. It equipped most medium regiments of Royal Artillery. 5.5 inch gun could fire 36 kilogram standard charge at 16 kilometres with a rate of 2 rounds per minute. Reputed for its accuracy, rounds could be fired to within 2 metres of the target. Within minutes of taking up firing position, the crew of 10 could bring the gun weighing 5 tons into action. The arms of the gun were brought together for towing or spread apart for firing. The 5.5 inch gun was towed by a 4-wheel drive AEC Matador truck that also carried the ammunition, spears, essential tools. Several regiments composed of 5.5 inch guns gave gunfire support to the 6th Airborne Division during combat on the eastern flank in 1944. That's one hell of a size gun, that is. This is a Central tank, codenamed Vidette, by its crew, served in the 5th Independent Battery of the Royal Marines Armoured Support Group. I never knew they had tanks. On the 6th of June 44, the tank was immobilised by German gunfire after landing on Sword Beach with commando forces. Vidette was recovered from a field on the coast in the 70s, restored by the British Army, placed on the bank of the Caen Canal. In 2013, the tank was in need of a second restoration and moved into the museum grounds and renovated to commemorate the 70th anniversary of D-Day landings in June 2014. Without the invaluable financial and technical assistance of the following associations, companies and individuals, the restoration would not have been possible. So you've got the Royal Marines Historical Society, Royal Marines Charitable Trust, Philip Lombard, Tony Carr, Vincent Binet, Laurent Catalane, Bruno Lavrier, Bruce and Robin Chapman, Pierre Broris, Hassler Company Royal Marines, Major Mark Benink Royal Marines, and Patrick Rovard. There's a statue of Brigadier James Hill. So James Hill, a founder of the Parachute Regiment, was one of the most experienced Allied airborne commanders. Commissioned into the Royal Fusiliers in 1931, he served in France in 1940 and was one of the last British soldiers to evacuate from Dunkirk. After parachute training, Hill commanded the 1st Parachute Battalion in North Africa, which was part of the 1st Airborne Division, Sicily and Italy. Promoted to Brigadier in February 44 at the age of 33, which is young. He took command of the 3rd Parachute Brigade, leading them from Normandy into Belgium, Holland and Germany. James Hill was the most senior surviving officer of D-Day landings. He died in March 2006. Yeah, a lot of people respected him. So, commanded the 3rd Parachute Brigade, which was made up from the 1st Canadian Parachute Battalion, the 9th Parachute Battalion, the 8th Parachute Battalion, and 7th at one point, but that became part of Fire Brigade, probably when the Canadians came in. But yeah, so that's Brigadier James Hill. So this is the memorial to Lieutenant Dan Brotheridge, Oxford and Light Infantry, who was first British soldier to die in action on D-Day, leading his platoon across the bridge. So yeah, he was first killed in action. There would have been others killed before him on the way in, like the ones that was shot down and things like that. There's the bridge. There's a look across the bridge there. I think the memorial you can see is where brothers may have been shot. Not sure. But originally this was covered in oak wooden beams for the flooring, the decking. Believe it or not, it was heavier than what this metal lattice is now. Okay, so that good?
Yeah.
So, right, Daisy, enjoying it so far?
Yeah.
Good.
But I just went on that big tower.
Yeah, you'll go up there in a bit. That's a bridge. So what you can see behind there, that big plane up there, that's what they call a horse glider. And that's what they flew to capture this bridge in. So there's 3 gliders like that.
Don't sit on the bush. Don't, you'll get a spike up your bum.
Really adaptable as well, because it was designed so that the wings would come off if you crash between trees and things like that.
Daisy.
So we're going to see that. We're going to see that glider then, Daisy. What are you doing down there?
Just found a Daisy.
Come on. What are you going to do?
I'm going to see the
You're going to start the plane.
You want to go and have a look, do you?
Have a look in.
Yeah.
Wait, Daisy, wait your turn.
Yeah, you got to wait.
Wait.
So they're not a small aircraft. Carry 28 air landing soldiers, plus two crew at the front. Back of the aircraft was designed to come apart so you could drive jeeps on it and off it, and the front was as well. You could take the doors off and slid the Land Rover around. So, can you see in there all right? Yeah. So that's looking at the cockpit. And that's how cramped it is. In fact, there's quite a lot of room on there. It's about the size of a Chinook helicopter on the inside. I think this has got like seating on it, but it's probably been netting that it was sat in. But yeah, gives you some idea. It's made out of plywood and canvas.
We're going to go on that bridge in a minute, we are going to go on it.
They've got big wheels, look. Big ski underneath, so it bounce along. And you could store things up there as well. Now the tyres were all slicks to create less friction. So now on the originals, I believe there used to be a seam down there and the back end had come off. They're massive. It's still not the biggest glider. I think it's the Hamley car or Hamley, something like that. The big one with a cockpit on top. That was bigger than this.
Why? No, it's not. It's just a toy plane. Not a real one.
And then you've got an original glider here, look. So it's not in very good condition, but you can see the structure. It's a glider. Middle wallop. Total length of fuselage 20 metres, so about 22 feet long. I think they're compressed air struts for the undercarriage. It's quite bad condition.
Like that one over there with shot a million.
Yes.
Without stopping. You know, a million. And then, there's a tank there.
Oh, Hamley car, that's it. That's a big one. Carry little tanks in it. At least the crew didn't get killed when the load went through the front like it could on that. See him loading a trailer on that, going through the front. The gliders by the bridge. Look. See Cafe Gondre there. Now, this is a Bailey bridge that the Royal Engineers used to have and shove it across the river. I think the quickest time they did one of these was about 30 minutes from scratch, building one up, from what I've heard. So there's a bridge from the other side. Now looking that way, between here and those trees you can see, just there, you've got the River Orne. You can see, I don't know if you can see it, there's cars in that gap over there, or the drop zones up there I think. 7 para, there to get from their DZ and reinforce the oxen bucks. And if you look at the actual counterbalance weight end, you can see shrapnel marks on the bridge. And then looking up again, you'll see a dent. And that dent there was caused by the Germans trying to blow the bridge up. It was flying so low it didn't ignite when it hit the bridge, but it bent it up, so the plane was flying really low. Now if you look on this side, you'll see some holes in the bridge. There, and there. Well, on the outside of the bridge, what the Germans did, they had like a cylinder full of explosives on both sides. So if the British did try and capture it, they could blow it up. But like idiots, every night they used to come and take the explosives. So when the British got here, there's no explosives on the bridge, so they couldn't blow it up. It was captured too quickly. On this side, I think this is the side where Dan Brother was just killed. You can actually see the shrapnel in the bridge itself.
Daisy.
In fact, that one's penetrated right through. And this is a good 1/2 inch thick steel.
Daisy,
So that mark you can see is from a grenade that's gone off. So more grenade marks on this side. And it says, "You liberated Pegasus Bridge, now you guard it for eternity. Your message will never be forgotten. Ham and Bloody Jam." Well, Ham and Bloody Jam was the code name back to intelligence to let them know that the Oxen Bucks had captured the bridge. And I think it went something like ham and jam, ham and jam, ham and bloody jam. I think the fight was over in about 10 minutes. It says, "Grandad, always remember, never forgotten, ham and jam." Now, I've been told that some of the veterans that actually captured this bridge, even though they was only here for a short while, it stuck with them for the rest of their life. And when they died, they had the ashes scattered over the bridge with a short service. And I can totally understand why. So they lost a lot of their friends, and it meant a lot to them. So there's a good view of the museum. So if you're ever this way, you'll have to pop in and look at the place. It's fantastic. So that's me over and out from the Pegasus Museum at Brenneville. And if you're interested in this kind of content, you can check out my other YouTube channel, Nottingham PRA Film Productions. I'll leave a link in the description.